It's the most popular topic here at Live on Purpose TV, and I've got some new ideas for you today about how to stop yelling at your kids. One of my colleagues, who is also a professional psychologist, recently told me, "Hey Paul, every problem we have is a problem with thinking." Now I've thought about that a little bit, and I think he's probably right. It's hard to imagine how something my kid is doing that's so frustrating has got me to the point where I'm yelling. What? That's a problem with thinking? No, that's a problem with my kid's behavior. Actually, let's take a look at that. Our thinking is what has us yelling. It's not our child's behavior. Sure, there are things that could be improved about our kids' behavior, but let's take a look at the thinking. We have an expectation that our kid should do something, or that it's supposed to be this other way, and it's not. Anytime our experience violates what our expectation is, it causes a little bump in our emotions. Okay? And you've felt it, haven't you? Where it just gets ratcheted up to a point where you lose it. You lose control. That's a problem with thinking. If we didn't think it was a problem, we wouldn't yell. This can be a little frustrating to hear at first, so let's dig into some things that we can actually do. And the next thing that I want to talk to you about is problem ownership. Problem ownership is simply getting clear about who owns the problem, and there's a clear way to define that. Whoever is bothered owns the problem. Now think about that. Usually when you yell at your kids, who's bothered? Well, you are, because you're the one who's yelling. Is your kid bothered by what you just yelled at them for? Typically no. Yelling at your child doesn't necessarily shift the problem over to them. It does call to their attention that there is a problem and that their parent has a problem. In fact, they might look at you like you're a ranting, raving lunatic, right? So they know that there's a problem going on. They still don't own the problem. Problem ownership allows us to identify what's bothering us and then solve the problem in whatever way is most likely to bring about a positive outcome. Can I share a quick example with you? One of the dads that I was working with was so frustrated with his son for leaving the lights on when he left for school. And Dad usually left for work before the son left for school. So the lights would be on all day, burning up all of that valuable energy, and Dad's paying the power bill. Who has the problem here? I asked this father, and he was very quick to say, well, my son has the problem. He doesn't turn the lights off. But really, you and I know who has the problem here? Dad has the problem. Dad's problem is the lights are on all day, and the power bill is skyrocketing. That's Dad's problem. If Dad thinks that it's the son's problem, he's going to yell at the son to solve the problem. Well, the son doesn't have the problem. So I talked to Dad about some things he could do to solve his problem. He actually came up with a pretty brilliant solution, as he simply went into that room where his son was leaving the lights on, the son's bedroom, and removed the light bulbs. Problem solved. For Dad. Now who has a problem? Well, son comes home from school, flips the light, nothing. Now son has a problem. That's okay. He can solve that problem. He can approach Dad. He can talk to him about how to get the light bulbs back. And they can have an interaction that will allow them to solve this problem. Nobody yells. Now, in this example, son might yell at Dad because the light bulbs are missing, because they have a family culture now of yelling at somebody who doesn't actually have the problem. The person who owns the problem is the most likely person to solve the problem. Next, I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful strategies that you can apply right now, immediately, to stop yelling at your kids. And that is to detach yourself from the outcomes. This is hard. It's simple, but simple and easy are not the same thing. You need to detach from the outcomes. And to identify what that is, just ask yourself, what is it that I'm yelling at my kids about? And it's usually something about their behavior or lack thereof. They're letting something slip. They're not doing what you ask them to do. They're pestering and teasing each other. Whatever it is, it has to do with their behavior, right? What if you were to detach yourself from the outcomes so that they could do that and you'd be fine with it? I know, this sounds counterintuitive, but stay with me here because this is probably one of the most powerful ways to shift the psychology back over to have your child own this problem instead of having you own the problem. As long as you're attached to the outcomes, you own the problem. Who's most likely to solve the problem? The person who owns it. That's why you yell, because you're frustrated. You have no power to solve their behavior. They do. And so you yell at them to try to get them to solve your problem. Do you see how this plays out? I want you to detach from the outcomes. Now, I've got a strategy for you that will help you to do that. In another video, I talked about identifying two alternatives, two choices that your child has. Let's just go mental here for a minute. Get into your own mind. Identify two alternatives. And one of them is the one that you want, and the other one is one that you control. When you detach yourself from the outcomes, the one that you want no longer holds you hostage. You're okay with that, and you're okay with this. So let me give you an example of what I mean. The father and the son, for example. Hey, you can turn off the lights like I've asked you to, or I can remove those light bulbs and the light will be off, and either way, my problem's solved. I'm good. That's why we have to detach from the outcomes. If you're good with this and you're good with that, who has the problem now? See how that shifts it right back to them? Sweetie, you can turn in all of your homework on time, the way we've discussed with your teacher, and then what do you control over here? It might be access to a digital device, right? I'm really okay with either way. What's best for you? Do you see how I've detached from the outcome now? And it puts it right back on my child. This is powerful. You don't even have to reveal to your child what the two alternatives are. As long as you've got it in your own mind, you're good. Because you know that either this is going to happen, which is kind of what I was hoping for, but I've detached from that outcome, and this is a legitimate option as well, because if you choose this, you're going to learn something. There will be some consequences that will help you to make better choices in the future. I'm okay with that. See, as a parent, I'm good either way. No reason to yell. I have just shared with you the most powerful mental strategy I can think of to help you stop yelling as a parent. Remember, on these two alternatives that you think of in your mind, you're okay with either one. If you're not, you're going to feel some frustration. You're going to feel a need to stay attached to this outcome because that's really what you want them to do. Give yourself another alternative. And whether you tell them to your kids or not is totally up to you. This is a mental game that we're playing. You have to be okay with both, and you have to be able to enforce one of them, because that one becomes the default if they waffle or refuse to choose. That's the one you're going to go with because you can control it. This has an amazing effect on your own mental health, and it puts you in a position where you don't have to yell because you're good with whatever happens. Isn't that awesome? We've got your back on this whole parenting thing. I don't know if you knew about the resources that are available to you right now at Live on Purpose Central. There's a special link in the description. You're going to get some gifts and prizes just for going over there. Come and check it out. We even have a 5-day challenge. Specific things you can do for 5 days in a row to stop yelling at your kids. Come and check it out. Live on Purpose Central. The link is in the description.
Wished I had a number so